Welcome to Compas on the Beat. Usually on Tuesdays we get 4 compas, but it's only 2 compas. It's 4 and minus 2 is 2. But Dan and Fernando can't join us this week. They'll be back next week. Don't worry. And you know what? I know people don't like hearing me talk or seeing my face. They like Victor. Yeah, I saw a nice comment for Victor because he does bring the nuggets and the details for Compas on the Beat. He is the producer. He knows a lot here. But sometimes I could be helpful too, and I'll pat myself on the back. Chargers 3-0 whenever I make it out to SoFi Stadium or fill in for What's Up Boats. But anyways, we're here for 2 compas on the beat. We'll get the 4 guys together, and I can't wait to get Dan and Dago back next week for his reaction of Philip Rivers. And Charger fans, I know you like Dan a lot, but there's a little secret out there. He's not a big Rivers guy, so I can't wait to hear his reaction. But for this week's show, we're gonna test the waters, have fun with it. Do I dare say, is Justin Herbert being a jerk? And you know what? That could be the engagement question of the week. Is Justin Herbert being a freaking jerk? Let me know in the comments. We're going to talk about it. I have mixed emotions here. I know people already in the comments are saying, no, this and that, whatever. But we'll talk about Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement. Who had that in 2025? Rivers coming back after 5 years. He's a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame. If he makes the active roster for the Colts, you know what? The clock starts again. 5 more years to make the Hall of Fame. But not just that. And Victor was planning the show before Rivers got to the Colts practice squad. So it's a Stranger Things kind of theme. Let me know if you watch Stranger Things, the final season or the part 1 of the final season. Hey, we're going to talk about Netflix too, by the way, later on in the show. A lot going on, but the point is it's been an upside down, NFL season. No Mahomes maybe in the playoffs. Maybe no Joe Burrow. Probably no Joe Burrow. He's 4-9. And maybe no Lamar Jackson. So it's been a weird year. We're going to touch on all that. And also, of course, Monday Night Football, Eagles, Chargers. Check out What's Up Bolts for the recap. But we're going to touch a little more on the Eagles' point of view. But we'll get to the Chargers and Justin Herbert in just a bit.
Yeah, and we got a lot to get into, as you said. So just to kind of go off of the Stranger Thing theme of this episode, let us know what has been the most upside down thing about this NFL season. We'll get in. We have a good segment coming up, as Gilbert talked about, that I kind of wanted to get into with the rest of the guys. But now, with the guys not being here, we can get into more of it. So, yeah, let us know what has been the most upside down thing about this NFL season, because there's a lot, and we have 6 topics to go over. We'll get to that, but I think everybody in here, we have comments on here with both the Rams and the Chargers. So both of the LA teams are doing really well. Both teams are, I guess we got to start having that conversation, Gilbert, is what happens if both of these teams end up having a host an NFC title game? What happens with SoFi? Like, how do you go about doing that? Because I know that question has been out there and we haven't really talked about it, but what happens if both of these teams end up having a host a NFC title game
or championship game? The Chargers being in the
NFC and AFC. Sorry.
I don't know. We always talk about this, and I know it's more of a chance happening in LA than in MetLife Stadium with the Jets and the Giants. But let's get there first before it happens. And it would be interesting. Maybe it will be the first ever Saturday, championship game, and then a Sunday championship game. I don't know how that will affect ratings, but whatever makes more sense financially for the NFL, they'll probably go with that. But I'm glad you're talking about NFL stadiums because, man, it was fun watching Joe Burrow and Josh Allen in the snow. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later. But I can't believe that we don't have a lot of outdoor stadiums left. And, SoFi Stadium is indoors, somewhat outdoors, and they got that freaking turf. So it'll be interesting to see how they will do that because, there's no way you could have back-to-back games, especially on a turf that probably needs some kind of maintenance to check it out for a few hours. So it will definitely be an interesting dynamic for that one. But hey, like we mentioned on both the Chargers are still in the race. Everything's in front of them after that big time victory against Philly. And then the Rams are playing for the number 1 seed. They have a showdown against the Lions, and then another showdown in Seattle, potentially for all the marbles in the NFC conference.
Yeah, a lot, and both like I said, both of these teams. That's why I kind of brought up the question, because both of these teams are in position to perhaps host multiple playoff games. But Gilbert, let's get to why people are here. We're going to talk a lot of football here. We got a lot that happened in week 14. So let's start off. If you're cool with, we'll start off with the Monday Night Football takeaways. Chargers defense forces 5 turnovers and 22-19 overtime win over the Eagles, Gilbert. Let's start off with the Eagles. And the Eagles spiral as the offense continues to ignore the engine line. And the reason I went with this is because, if you have a car and you see that engine light, you just either ignore it or you take care of the problem. And when you look at this Eagles offense, it just seems like they're just ignoring the problem, Gilbert. One of the things we saw when they spiraled 2 years ago, it was they removed the offensive coordinator. For some reason, they're refusing to remove the offensive coordinator in Kevin Patullo here. So what have you seen from this Eagles offense, and is it just all on the offense? And where do they go from here after this loss?
First of all, I'm just so glad that there was no tie at SoFi Stadium last night. I was like, do we really have to look at an ugly ass tie record for the Chargers and the Eagles? I hate ties. That's why I'm not a fan of soccer. Breaking news there. I do not like soccer. I know Fernando has mentioned that a few times here. But to see, like, dealing with the Packers and the Cowboys tie just makes my life difficult, and trying to do the math. Like where would the Chargers would have been with that, that tie on the record? Same thing with the Eagles too. The Eagles are okay because they're in the crappy NFC East, but I was really hoping, either the Eagles win that at the end or the Chargers win it at the end. And sure enough, it was a Tony Jefferson interception. So I'm glad we avoided that. But I think the biggest thing with the Eagles is like the defense knows how to make adjustments very quickly, and or I guess maybe that game against the Bears, they didn't know how to correct the Russian defense, but we saw a little early on in that Chargers game where Herbert right away leads his team for a touchdown drive. That dump off the Kamani Vidal, I got it right. Then the Hampton touchdown right away. They're up 7-0, and it's like, are the Eagles defense frauds? Are they going to figure it out? And they quickly adjusted. I know they were playing a crappy O line that Justin Herbert has. They were able to put a lot of pressure without even having the blitz, but they did bring a guy in Kobe Dean. So Fangio knows how to adjust. Why is that not the case with the Eagles offense and Patullo? And, one thing I noticed, Saquon Barkley running on the outside, primarily the left side, he was really, getting some big chunk yards, and they just stopped going away from it. And I kept seeing Hurts drop back and just taking these reckless shots. And, that's why it led, I don't know how many of those turnovers, those 4 interceptions were down the field. I know there was one. He took a shot to, I want to say, Devontae Smith. That was just ugly. The tip pass didn't count as a deep shot. But to me, it just felt like he just wanted to just say, all right, Smith, A.J. Brown. And to me, that's a lot of pleasing of the wide receivers. And I mentioned this on What's Up Bolts. It's like when the Chargers went ugly, nobody gives a crap about style points or stats or, like McConkey had one freaking catch for 12 yards. He was in my fantasy team. I was pissed off that he wasn't, like, Herbert was actually trying to feed the guy. And he just, for whatever reason, they weren't connecting. But you don't hear a peep out of him, or you don't hear a peep out of Keenan Allen. Oh, but if A.J. Brown doesn't get the ball when they're winning, it's a whole big deal here. So I think that's gotten in Jalen Hurts' head. And I remember I saw the clip of when he threw an ugly pick against the Bears. He really went out of his way to apologize to his playmakers. I'm like, dude, like, just move on. Like, you're the quarterback. Who cares what people say? And I think it's really affecting this team. And then Nick Sirianni is trying to, help out his guy and Kevin Patullo. I know he was in the meetings a little more this week. It didn't do much. You still couldn't establish a run. You went away from Saquon Barkley. Maybe that's a guy you should feature more. To me, the thing with the Chargers, when the running game is not working, they're still trying to establish a run, no matter how long it takes. And I'll even credit the Bears. When the Bears weren't running the football against the Packers, they kept going and going and going. And by the third quarter, they were finally starting to show some cracks there for Green Bay, and they got back into the game. The Eagles are not patient. They are pointing the finger. There's no adjustment. So to me, offensively, you're right. They're out of sorts, and the engine light's been on, and nobody cares to fix it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen a lot of Philly fans being upset about this, and there's a lot of people who follow this team, who are in the national media, who are fans of the Eagles, who have been pointing this out now for a while now, that this offense is broken. And it starts with Jalen Hurts. And I think part of it too, Gilbert, is the fact that there's no identity with this team, right? Like offensively. And it seemed like when they were winning games, they had an identity, as you mentioned. They were playing ugly and they were boring and they were getting the job done. We haven't seen them, do the tush push that much the last few weeks, is because they haven't been able to establish anything on the first couple of downs. And it seems like what you mentioned with the defense and Big Fangio. Big Fangio is a guy that, has established himself as a defensive coordinator. We don't know what Kevin Patullo can do because this is the first time with him calling plays. And I know I've also seen people calling out the fact that Nick Sirianni probably should have gone out of the Eagles organization like he did with Big Fangio and hired an offensive coordinator from the outside to bring in and be able to get a hold of Jalen Hurts. And it seems like Jalen Hurts and the rest of that offense is just doing what they want to do. And that's not the way you're going to be able to run things. And unfortunately, that's what they ran into this week. And props to the Chargers, as you said, they don't care about winning pretty. All they care about is stacking wins and getting to the next game. And so it's unfortunate to kind of see where this Eagles team is at. And the questions, I don't think we are where what we saw from the Eagles 2 years ago, where everybody was calling to fire Nick Sirianni. I think Nick Sirianni now has a leash because they won the Super Bowl. But I think whatever happens the rest of the season, expect him to get a new offensive coordinator and for him to go outside the building to do so.
Yeah, the thing with Chargers and Charger fans, they're the only people who care about style points. Every week is like Roman sucks. Greg Roman needs to get out the building. This offense stinks. They're 9-4. They just beat the Eagles, and the Eagles have bigger problems, but they don't have as many injuries. So again, I'm gonna highlight Jim Harbaugh for embracing this ugly fashion, nasty attitude by any means necessary, whatever it takes to win. And the Eagles are just pointing fingers at each other. But hey, the Eagles are strange because they go to the Super Bowl and then the next year they kind of seem like, oh, okay, we're so tired of this formula that wins so much. It happened in 22 when they went to the Super Bowl against Mahomes. It came close. And then in 23, they were 10-1 and they were still pointing the finger. And then it kind of has the same feel. I kept saying, I don't think we're headed to that direction. And I'm starting to buy into that. But the one thing for the Eagles that's going their way is they're in the crappy NFC East. Like they play the Raiders, they play the Commanders twice. They're gonna win 3 more games. They're gonna be what is that? 11-5 or 11-6. That's enough to clinch the division, and they're gonna host a playoff game. So they might be in the division round still. It's still a team I don't, I'm sure any team will not want to face because they still have the element to be a physical team. They still have Vic Fangio, calling a good defense. So to me, they'll be fine, but I don't know if I could see them as a Super Bowl contender the way I did a month ago because that offense is just not going to click overnight. And they've done it before, but to me, it's starting to feel like 2023 a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, the one difference is that they do have Big Fangio, so they could turn it on in the playoffs, and they're still a dangerous team. They'll still get the respect from the other teams because you're not going to go in there expecting, just them to continue to play the way they are. So they still have the talent. I keep seeing like, oh, I saw somebody asking today who, if there wasn't a complete team, and we've talked about this, Gilbert. I don't see there being a complete team this season, but in terms of like the one that I could see in terms of on paper, it's the Eagles. They still are the most complete team out there. It's just they haven't shown it the last 5 weeks. That's the thing.
Yeah, get that maintenance check for the engine
Yep,
light and figure it out.
exactly. All right, Gilbert. So let's move over now to the Chargers. And what has we talked about it. We got to sub in on What's Up Bolts last night, so we went over all the things that the Chargers did right to get this win. But there was something that kind of, I guess, grabbed your attention today, and that is, we had people already in the comments. And my question to you is, why has Justin Turner turned into a jerk this season, and is that a good thing? Like, I don't, I would want my quarterback to kind of be, like not be someone that is very likable. We've seen it with Mahomes where he's not very likable. And so, whether it was the post game interview with Laura Rutledge, where he was kind of standoffish with her, she was short with her. And then you see the video today about him, being kind of yelling at a kid for not signing his autograph. So where do you stand with Herbert, and has he been a jerk this season?
Yeah, flat out, he's been a jerk. But hear me out, Justin Herbert supporters. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, come on, like I get that that's maybe your favorite quarterback and you want to support Herbert all the way, but you know, pretty much not letting Laura Rogers do her job. Shoving a cameraman coming out the tunnel not too long ago. Uh, you know, pretty much always being short with the media. He never wants to talk to reporters. He never wants to be in front of the camera. He gets very upset. Uh, and then the whole thing to me with the picture with the kid, I don't know what I heard from the video. I don't think Herbert called the kid a MF. I don't think that was him. That was somebody else in his entourage. But I get it. The kid's wearing an Eagles jersey and they kind of just say, oh, get away. You're not a Chargers fan. That's all fair and game. I get it. But like if somebody said, no, not with that MF. I don't know who said that. Anyways, the point is, it's stop kind of being around the bush. He is being a jerk, maybe more this year than previous seasons. And as a reporter, as a media person, I don't like it. You're the star quarterback. You're supposed to be in the spotlight. You're supposed to be the ambassador, the face of the franchise. But I get it. Nobody cares about reporters. But with that being said, it's okay to be the jerk. Nothing wrong with that. Like honestly, I think maybe that's part of Jim Harbaugh rubbing off on Justin Herbert. And come on, let's be real. There's a reason why Jim Harbaugh goes from job to job because his act gets a little tiring after 4 or 5 years. He has that nasty mean streak that makes him a good coach, but also it adds to his downfall. It's like a gnat. It's annoying. It pumps you up for a bit. You get confident. You rally people around. You're mean mugging. You're physical. You go out there and win a bunch of games. But the year 3 or 4 is kind of like, dude, okay, we get it with the whole, who's got it better than us thing. And it happened in San Francisco. It's happened, a little bit to an extent, with Michigan. But to me, there's nothing wrong with that if it leads to victories. And I bet you Harbaugh and behind the scenes is saying like, hey, Herbert, you hear what they're saying about you? And I'm sure Justin Herbert is probably tired of all the crap. I'm okay with that. Embrace it. People are saying, you're a failure because you're 0-2 in the playoffs. You choked in Jacksonville. You choked in Houston. You're not that good. And I've heard stories in the locker room where people, media talking about like, hey, Herbert's not this, he's not that. And he just walks by and he's like, okay. You know how Jalen Hurts, there's like he goes viral for looking at an ESPN camera saying, oh, Hurts is not top 10. And he goes, okay. Like Herbert's doing that in his own way too. And it Hurts, use that field to win the Super Bowl. And why can't Herbert do it like in that way? His thing is a little more rude in a way. But I don't care if it creates a mean streak, a nasty streak. I know people here are not, maybe totally boxing fans. Terrence Crawford is a total SOB. Shut your mouth, nasty dude. And he brings that to the ring. I love guys who are like that. We don't all need to be the hero or sometimes it's okay to be a villain. I know for quarterbacks, it's rare to be a villain, but Aaron Rodgers was doing that too. Maybe not to an extent where, he's shoving a camera guy out the way. But to me, it's like, it's fine. Let's call it what it is. He's being a jerk. That's okay too. It kind of seems a little weird because also he has a Hollywood girlfriend and doesn't look good for the rich guy making $55 million to tell a kid, go away, see you later. But to me, they're 9-4. That's all I care about for this team. If you're winning games, and if that mean streak clicks in the playoffs, we're like, I don't give a crap about what people think about me. We're gonna find a way to win regardless of style points. I don't care about your quarterback rankings. Then who cares? Like, I know people want to defend this guy to the end of days, but it's okay to be a jerk. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Like you look at like guys like Kobe here, who we saw, like that was one of that was like the one thing, like it was, you saw him being let's call it what it was. Kobe was a dick to like a lot of his teammates. He was, a dick to the media. Like, and it wasn't until later on in his career that he became more nice to some of the media members, and everybody was like, wait, why is he being nice to us? And it was because he knew that at the end of his career,
Oh, yeah.
and that he knew he was going to need those people to get into the Hall of Fame. He knew that he was going to get into other stuff after basketball. And look at even LeBron James. Like LeBron James is kind of a douchebag outside of like basketball. So I'm like, yeah, like if I'm Herbert, become
Even
a
Tom
heel
Brady,
here,
the
be a
ultimate
jerk.
trash talker on the field, that he won a bunch of
Yeah,
Super Bowls. He was in people's ears all the time, and
yep,
people forget about that.
yeah. Like it and sometimes you need that mean streak, like somebody is saying here, like with Angel, he said Herbert has been the same guy since he came. He's never liked the media. This
Yeah,
is not new, and that is true too. Like, hey, continue to like now take it to the next level and be the heel for once. And now that this is going to be a very interesting playoff season, Gilbert, because you're probably not going to have Mahomes. You're probably not going to have Lamar Jackson. And so you need people to sell to the casual fan. And Herbert is dating, like you said, a famous celebrity right now. And so if he's a little bit of a jerk out there, why not put it out there? That way you have other teams fan bases, saying, "Oh, well, look at Herbert. He's kind of a douchebag. Look at what he did with that kid, and look at what he did with Laura Rutledge." That keeps him out there, and people are going to want to see that, whether you're a fan or whether you're not a fan of Herbert. So, to me,
yeah,
and one of the things I keep remembering, Gilbert, was going into the draft. The reason people didn't want to draft him was because he was an introvert, right? Like people said, hey, this guy isn't likable. Well, this is your chance to put him out there on the stage. They're 5-0 in primetime games. So let him be, the jerk out there and ride with it now.
yeah. And to his credit, he's been consistent. He's just kind of taken up to a few levels. And I'll kind of share some behind the scenes of dealing with Herbert. Like when I was covering the Chargers for every day for his first 2 years, yeah, 2020 and 21, I was there. He always made time to answer my questions. And honestly, I'm not the loudest talker. I mumble a lot, but he always knew, like, hey, you want to ask a question? I saw you trying to ask a question. He always gave me the time to ask my question before he walked away. Like people don't hear about that. And I know since I left, he's been shorter and different, but I've seen him at Chargers community events. I've seen him take pictures with fans all the time. I see him do it with Madison Beer. So, you know, it's a little different, and I think what it really is, I think Jim Harbaugh has kind of rubbed off on him. I really think he's in his ear saying like, "Oh, you don't like that they did that? Well, let me give you more of that information because they're doing more of that." And it's like, yeah, you know what? F these people. And I'm sure, all the crap he had to take after the Houston game when, like, you said it on What's Up Bolts, like, it's not just on the quarterback. Like, the Texans made Mahomes look ordinary. They destroyed Josh Allen not too long ago. It's the O-line. It's a team game, but he's taking all the blame, and he's probably like, you know what? I'm fed up with this crap. So, Herbert's always been good to me. I don't deal with him as much as I used to, but I used to get annoyed too with his short answers, and they were very boring. But when he was a rookie and I was really trying my best to get to know this guy, and put him out there for like profile pieces, he didn't like the questions, but he will give me stuff to work with, and I appreciate it. And I know there was issues with him trying to avoid the weekly press conferences going from Friday, and then a lot of media's not there on Friday; they're there on Wednesday, but he moved it back to Wednesday. So it's a lot of give and take. But this year's a lot of I don't give a crap anymore. And
Yeah.
they're 9-4, and I get a bunch of injuries have occurred. He has a freaking broken hand. Even his answers are sassy in the press conference. Somebody was like,
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
like, you know, how do you manage the pain, or how was the pain tolerant?" He's like, "Well, my hand was broken a week ago. Like, what do you think?" And it's a kind of a dick answer, but it's like, ask a better question. Well, I'm all
Yep.
for that too. So,
Yeah.
hey, like, I get it. These guys are high profile. They got to be nice to the kids. But the kid was wearing an Eagles jersey. As long as he wasn't the one saying
Yeah.
MFer, I'm okay with it. Maybe it wasn't. He shoved the camera guy not too long ago. But I'm tired of the button down quarterbacks. Like Tom Brady always got this golden boy thing, but he was a dick too. Let's be
Yeah.
real. Aaron Rodgers didn't have that luxury of being called the golden boy in his latter part of his career. He was a for sure kind of arrogant, smug, dickish, different kind of view guy, but he was honest and consistent. I like when Aaron Rodgers, by the way, said, "Can we all shut the hell up about Mike Tomlin? You guys should shut up already." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys won. We'll shut up now." I like it. Be honest and go back and forth.
Yeah, especially when you win, talk your shit. Like I have no issue with it, and like I said, like I have no issues with Herbert being a jerk. Like you should be like I'm just tired of the robot quarterbacks, like you said. Like I want to see more personality from these. Look, I'll say it again. Like some of these guys need to take over now. Like we're not gonna get any Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Like some of those dudes are boring. Like, hey, at least give
Hey,
me some
Burrow's pretty
personality
boring. You're
from
right.
this. So
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
I do not like the Burrow interviews. He tries to give more than Herbert, but
Uh,
like it's kind of like I don't know. He just kind of has a way of like talking very slowly, and sometimes he gives you sound bites, definitely. But it's like he's actually kind of boring. Same thing with Tom Brady for so many years. Josh Allen might be the new poster boy right now, especially if Mahomes doesn't make the playoffs. But hey, maybe Herbert could be the villain to Josh Allen. Why not?
yeah, we need come on her. We need the villain from from Justin Herbert here going forward. All right, Gilbert, let's get to our theme here of this episode. Our Stranger Things that have made this an upside down NFL season. Gilbert, let's start off with you. I love your first one here. We'll switch back and forth, but let's start off with you and your number one. 40-year-olds trying to save teams Flacco, Rogers, and now Rivers.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts here. Obviously, the Philip Rivers one I'll get to in a bit, but and it's again we're talking about with Justin Herbert. He gets all the blame for being the quarterback, but it's a team game. And the second Joe Flacco signed with the Bengals, I'm like, he's gonna increase their odds because he's a better quarterback than Jake Browning. But that he's not playing cornerback. He's not playing defensive tackle for an atrocious Bengals defense. If Joe Burrow at the top of his game couldn't guide the Bengals to the playoffs last year, what makes you think a 40-year-old Joe Flacco is going to do it? And he only won one game for them. So and that within itself, that trade was also weird. The Bengals never really make trades or splurge like that. And then to trade it within the division, the Browns going to Joe Flacco or Joe Flacco going from the Browns to the Bengals, that was a strange thing. There's been so many weird things this year. But Aaron Rodgers, he's coming off two crappy years against the Jets. And the Steelers are like, yeah, we want that crappy stuff. We'll wait for you because we haven't had a quarterback here since prime Big Ben. We'll wait until the summer. You want to go hide in the mountains? You want to do a couple documentaries? We're here. We're waiting. Go to Egypt. I don't give a crap. And you know what? And it's somewhat working there. They're 7-6 right there. So that one's actually working. And Rodgers did play actually a good game against Baltimore. I know Baltimore got screwed on the Isaiah Likely touchdown taken back. And real quick on that, I get it. The NFL officiating has been horrendous, but I've kind of getting it. Maybe it's not a good thing. I'm getting used to that, expecting a blown call at the worst time. But you got to adjust. Like at least, and depending if it's a Chiefs game, it's been consistent bad officiating. So when it was 2nd and 10, the Ravens still had multiple cracks to get into the end zone. They couldn't do it. They were finger pointing a lot there, and then they got the ball back with 2 minutes to go. Couldn't score, so they had their opportunities. But anyways, that was a signature victory for Mike Tomlin, who's actually had a lot of success against John Harbaugh. And then the Rivers thing, I don't know what to make of this. It kind of feels like Joe Flacco coming off the couch to give the Browns the 5 best games of his life. He wins comeback player of the year over Damar Hamlin, who died and came back to earth, which was a strange time in 2023, I think it was. And then we all expected that Flacco to save the Browns 2.0 and then the Bengals in the trade. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to go well for Philip Rivers, Vic, but I want to see it. I want to see a 44-year-old come off the couch after 5 years of not playing, being a semifinalist in the Hall of Fame. And then for a second, I thought, hey, the 7th seed might come down to the Chargers and Philip Rivers Colts, but the Chargers handle business on Monday night. They're going to be fine. Maybe they play in the playoffs. I don't know, but I just don't think it's gonna go well. They have to play. I want to say, is it Houston once more? They play Seattle in Seattle this week, and Jacksonville one more time. It's a difficult schedule. I want to see the old gunslinger. I can't even say it. Whatever.
Slinger.
Slinger. There you go. I want to see him try that. And I'm not surprised because Shane Steichen has so many years with Philip Rivers in San Diego, Los Angeles, with the Chargers for so many years. The playbook is going to be pretty easy. And, I asked, it was so weird. I asked Derwin James about Rivers returning in the locker room. I'm like, what year is it? Am I still a beat reporter for the Chargers in 2019? And, Derwin was like, yeah, whoa, I can't believe that Rivers is coming back. I saw it on TV before the game, and I was like, oh wow. And then I asked Derwin, it's like, do you think he still has? It's like, yeah, I think if his mind is still there and his arm, I think the mind's going to be there. He is a great, decipher of defensive coverages, pre-snap motion. He's going to help, at least say what's to come here. Jonathan Taylor he can make his life easier, but does he have the arm strength? I don't expect much from Alec Pierce. I don't really expect much from Josh Downs. Hey, but Michael Pittman Jr., you get open quickly. Tyler Warren, you get open quickly. I want to see how that takes place, especially if you establish the run with Jonathan Taylor. So I don't know if they get into the playoffs, Vic, because you already have the Chargers, Bills, and Texans right there. But now they have a chance. I thought, and you said it too, I think, I thought Indy wasn't going to win a game the rest of the year. Now they could win maybe one, maybe two. That could be enough in a very difficult AFC.
Yeah, and I mean, Phillip Rivers is already, Gilbert, he's third right now in the betting odds for comeback player of
Oh
the
my God.
year. I mean, what year is this as we talk about, this being an upside down season? But yeah, Phillip Rivers, man, that is crazy in terms of these 40-year-old quarterbacks. And I guess with Rivers it's all about just trying to see how much he's got left. The good thing for him is that he only needs to do it for what, 4, maybe 5 games if they get in the
Yeah.
playoffs. And so, hey, it's a good thing for him, and we get some content out of it as well. And then,
Oh yeah.
as we talked about, this will be the last thing here for your number one here. Rivers is a great guy with personality. I mean, he talks the shit out of whoever he's playing against. So hey, it's another guy with some personality out there to kind of show some of these guys, hey, this is how you do it as a quarterback.
How many wins do you think, Vic, in these next 4 games? Do you think they
I still
go
don't think they win a game.
no
It's just
game?
tough.
Wow.
I
I say they
just
go
think it's
1.
tough, man. It's tough. You look at that schedule, like you're going up to Seattle. I just looked at the line. The Seahawks are 14-point favorites almost. Then you still have the 49ers, you have the Jaguars and the Texans. There's no way they win another game. I'm surprised you even think they could win 2 games even with Rivers.
No, I'll say 1, but
1?
I
Okay.
think because Jacksonville and San Francisco are not as physical, that maybe he could withstand some of those hits in that game and maybe kind of sling it a little bit. So I'll say they win 1, no more than 2 for sure. Jesse is saying, I read that Rivers uses Shane Steichen's style playbook for the high school games he coaches, and yeah, I read that too. And man, I think I read also that Riley Leonard, the rookie quarterback who filled in for Daniel Jones, is the same age as or almost the same age as Rivers' oldest son. So, and I could be wrong. I think Rivers might be a grandfather too. Like I
He
think
is, yeah.
so. It's weird, but it's cool that Steichen and Rivers are still having a connection. Obviously, they had a lot of success, and for them to keep talking like this, like he's been in the news for a while to return, and the stars aligned for him with the coach that he knows, a team that he played for, and then all the injuries that occurred there. Like Anthony Richardson is nowhere to be found. By the way, that
Yep.
guy's stock has plummeted so badly that the guy who beat you in camp got hurt, and you're nowhere to be found. You know why? Because the resistance band hit you in the eye socket, and then you're out for the whole year because you have blurry vision. Like that's bad luck, but also like you can't trust Anthony Richardson. And then when I saw Riley Leonard going, I'm like, this is pretty much over. Now I think they have a chance, and I don't think 9 wins gets them into the playoffs, but 10, you might have a chance here, Vic. But overall, I want to see it. It could be a train wreck, but I am all for it here.
Yeah, I mean, what more can the Colts give us at this point? Honestly, it's been such an up and down season for them that I'm all for it here. Having a
Comment here
44-year-old.
from
I saw
Angel.
that.
Rivers wants to back up his son like LeBron. So yeah, just hold on until Gunner
Yeah,
makes it to the league,
2
and
more
then
years here. Yep.
you can play together. He can still be in the practice squad. Who the hell knows here?
All right, back to our stranger things that have made this and this upside down this and upside down NFL season. I'm gonna go with mine here. The AFC North and the AFC South switching places, Gilbert.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I don't want to see the NFC North get a team in the playoffs, but we're gonna get one, whether it's the Steelers or the Ravens. And the AFC South, you have the Texans, you have the Colts, and you have the Jaguars all in the playoffs right now. And that to me is crazy because for years we've said, man, the AFC South just sucks. Why are we getting one of these teams in the playoffs? Like they usually get relegated to the Saturday game of the beginning of the playoffs because nobody wants to see them in the playoffs. Now the AFC North, the what do they call it? The one of the best, the blue collar division.
black and
They're
blue.
not that anymore. Like you have the Bengals out there, the Browns suck. Like the Ravens have been up and down this season with Lamar Jackson getting hurt. And the Steelers, they want Tomlin fired. But you look at the AFC South, you have a team like the Houston Texans who are have caught fire now. They've won 5 in a row. They have one of the best defenses out there. They're a team that nobody wants to see right now. You have the Jaguars who've kind of been up and down, but the trade for the wide receiver from the Raiders has worked out magic for them. And it seems like it's gotten Lawrence back on track. And they look like one of those teams that you also don't want to face, even though they've been kind of up and down. And then the Colts we just talked about, they just got a 44-year-old guy coming out of retirement. So there's a storyline there. And then you look at the AFC North and everybody's like, I don't want to see these teams in the playoffs. Like, just, give me one of those AFC South teams, which is weird. So it's been part of this season, Gilbert, where everything's been upside down, and the AFC North and the AFC South kind of switching places here has been weird to kind of see.
Yes, seeing what's happening with Lamar Jackson kind of reminds me of Space Jam, where like he lost his powers, and you have to go get like Michael Jordan to get his powers back or whatever, and or he just really hurt, or I don't know what's going on. I think finally for the first time the Ravens are realizing like, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins and Zay Flowers are not enough here, and like they can't get a wide receiver. But regardless, they have a lot of problems offensively. Where like they still have a chance because I'm not gonna buy into the Steelers winning 2 or 3 more games to end the year to clinch that division. If Pittsburgh does it, it's gonna be a 9-8, or
Yep.
whoever gets 9 victories first is gonna win a division. But regardless, I couldn't care less about these storylines. They're so boring. I don't, maybe when Rodgers makes the playoffs with Tomlin, I want to see how they do together. But it's gonna be the same thing, right? 9-8, get blown out in the first round. See you later. But the record's intact. Yeah, again, the Ravens have a lot of issues, and then the Bengals might be entertaining, but they don't know how to win games. I want to see a shootout where Joe Burrow loses at the end, just like in Buffalo with Josh Allen. But they're not going to be in the dance. So to me, give me Rivers and the Colts trying to make one last effort. Give me the elite Texans defense and watch them smack people all day, and give me whatever Lawrence and Cohen are cooking up, because I'm not really sure where they're going, but it could be a good thing. So I'm with you, Vic.
Yeah, and then he's right. Brandon Hallam is right. The Colts are not in the playoffs right now. So 2 of the AFC South teams are in the playoffs as of right now because the Texans bumped the Colts out. So yeah,
Hey, but the
I
Colts are still in
misspoke
the hunt.
there.
The Colts are
Yeah, they're
still
still in the hunt, so
they're
I'm
all
with
8,
you.
8-5. I know they're out right now, but you never know. Rivers can maybe win 2 games. Who knows?
Yeah, and my brother-in-law is in here. He says the Rivers about to revive JT's for the rest of the season. Jonathan Taylor there. I don't know, man. I told him that injury to Danny Dimes might have derailed his fantasy season.
But even
So
before that, like Jonathan Taylor really fell off. I think defenses were like, hey, we should probably, just let Daniel Jones beat us here and just kind of put like 11 guys in the box here. And it started working. But uh, I also, too, Vic, I wonder one more thing here. If Rivers doesn't have much as a starter, Riley Leonard, he's not a good passer right now, but he's mobile. I think he had the most touchdowns ever as a quarterback in Notre Dame. Like, you don't think that mobility could help out Jonathan Taylor in a way, and that's your best weapon? I don't know. Maybe they're overthinking it too.
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, you never know. And the only reason they're bringing Rivers in is because Riley Leonard is also hurt, so he sustained
That's
an
true.
injury against the Jaguars as well. So they lost 2 or they got two of their quarterbacks injured in that game. And yeah,
Maybe
I
see
mean,
Rivers
that's
one
why they're,
game and bring in Leonard when he gets healthy for the next game. Who knows?
yeah, we'll see. All right, Gilbert, your number 2 is the Chicago Bears actually having a chance versus the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I'll try to pick up the pace here, but it was actually fun to watch a Bears Packers game that actually felt like there was meaning, where the competition level wasn't, lopsided. And all I've heard for the last 30 years is like, man, there's no better rivalry than Bears Packers. And I think Aaron Rodgers was trying to lead the charge, like, yeah, I'm the villain here of this rivalry, the best rivalry in football. We beat you guys all the time. Like, that's not a rivalry. You keep winning all the time. Like, since the 85 Bears, like, there hasn't really been a rivalry. And then when the Packers got Brett Favre, the Bears stunk. So, they just dominated and dominated. Maybe there was a couple years there when Jay Cutler was decent. There was that one fluky year from I'm forgetting the coach's name, but Trubisky was a quarterback. Khalil Mack was there.
Nagy.
Yeah, Nagy. So other than that, like, even those teams weren't in Aaron Rodgers' class. So now it feels like, all right, Jordan Love is still better. They have Michael Parsons there, but I like what I'm seeing from Ben Johnson. I like the passes that I saw from Caleb Williams, and I'm glad the guys aren't here for this one, because I was actually impressed with Caleb Williams. I know they're not fans of him, but he's finally doing the thing where he rolls out and extends plays. And before, he was just running with the football or making a bunch of overthrows where he couldn't get in sync with the running. In that game, he was able to complete a lot of passes doing that. He's able to do that, and then limit the interceptions. That's when you're really talking about the high ceiling for Caleb Williams. And we saw glimpses of that. I'm like, all right, Jordan Love and Caleb Williams, I'm here for it. And one more thing, speaking of villains, Ben Johnson got a lot of crap for his press conference talking crap about Matt LaFleur. It was a little forced. It was a little cringy. It came out of left field, but it set the tone for the rivalry, right? We're all talking about, look at what Ben Johnson said. Oh, eat your words, Ben Johnson. He added spice to the rivalry that was not a rivalry for the last 30 to 40 years or whatever. So to me, hey, Ben Johnson, it felt a little fabricated. I can't say words today, but you got into Matt LaFleur, like, saying, like, what? We're not even friends with the guy. Like, what are we doing here? And I bet LaFleur got respect from Ben Johnson, or gave respect to Ben Johnson. They're like, man, they almost got us there. So to me, I like this rivalry finally being a rivalry.
Yeah, and that's where I was gonna go with what you had here is Ben Johnson kind of adding some spiciness to it, but with his comments, and it kind of, it was kind of like doing a promo in wrestling where you're kind of like, hey, I'm gonna set the stage here for this rivalry, and I'm gonna put my stamp on it. And he had a chance there to tie the game later in the game, and for the first time in a while, Gilbert, like, I watched that game most like when I wasn't watching the Rams game, my eyes was on that game, especially once it was a blowout where the Rams were blowing out the Cardinals. My eyes were tuned into that game, and I don't know what's happening with Jonah Jackson, that he's a Pro Bowler whenever he's with Ben Johnson, because he stuck with the Rams. But it just tells you where they're at. Like, offensively, one of our things has been, look, if you're a defensive guy, your defense has to be good, right? If you're an offensive guy, your offense needs to be good. You've already seen Ben Johnson put in his print on this Chicago Bears, and if they can get the defense fixed, with better players going forward, this has the potential to be one of the best rivalries going forward for the next couple of years, Gilbert. So it's crazy to see that the Bears are actually making it a rivalry with the Packers.
Yeah, I think I saw like a video. Bob Costas was, kind of random. He was being asked, what are the best rivalry in sports? And he spent like 2 minutes on Bears Packers. I'm like, really? And then I think he ultimately said, like, yeah, I can't put it on my Mount Rushmore rivalries. I'm like, yeah, thank God. It hasn't been, but now there's potential. And I think he also forgot Lakers Celtics too as one of his four. So that video was all over the place, but it caught me, and I was paying attention to it. And yes, fitness 4234. I can't say the word. But hey, I did create a new word. Thank you for that.
There you go. Fabricated. There we go. All right, Gilbert. Let me give you my number 2 here. My number 2, Stranger Things that have made this an upside down NFL season. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow being out of the playoffs. Like, before the season, I said, hey, we can't have the same, top teams make the playoffs because we never know what's going to happen from year to year. And it's kind of finally happening with, you look at these teams with all the elite quarterbacks not being none of them leaving the division. You look at what everybody considers the elite quarterbacks, right, Gilbert? Like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen. None of those guys have their teams leading the division. It's the Broncos, the Jaguars, who am I missing? The Patriots and the Steelers now. And so it's kind of been just a weird year where the quarterbacks where you've talked about like, hey, you really need a elite quarterback if you want to win the Super Bowl. Not this year in the AFC because three of those dudes aren't even going to make the playoffs, if the playoffs started today. So it's just been kind of a weird thing to see, but it also kind of tells you where we're at as the NFL. Like having an elite quarterback might not always be the way to go, and sometimes having a different way of winning a Super Bowl. This is one of those years, and it's just an off year for the elite quarterbacks.
Yeah, you know what? In a way, we kind of already saw it, but Jalen Hurts is a strange case, and maybe that's the formula for winning a Super Bowl without having an elite quarterback. It's like, I really respect Jalen Hurts for delivering when it matters most. He pretty much outplayed Patrick Mahomes in 2 Super Bowls. Like, can a Bo Nix do that in the Super Bowl? Can a young Drake May do that? And we give Jalen Hurts a lot of crap here, but when the lights are brightest, he has come through. And I think, it kind of felt like maybe that year with Joe Flacco. Remember, is he elite or not? He probably wasn't elite, but in that playoff run, he came through. So who's going to be that guy who we're not going to rank top 5 in the quarterback rankings, but is going to have a special playoff season? We're going to probably bump up to number 10 or something because of that Super Bowl trophy. I even remember the year that Matt Ryan won MVP. He didn't win the Super Bowl, but we're like, hey, Matt Ryan is actually pretty good. Let's put him in the top 5, and he's not top 5 potential or quality, but he had a really one good year. So it does happen pretty often, and to me, it's like, you don't have to be Brad Johnson, because maybe the Texans, because their defense I think is that good. That's the number 1 defense. Big. We could argue about that one, but for the other teams, they're not as good as Houston. But you don't have if they don't have a Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson. Like Bo Nix could play. I know we give Bo Nix crap. Drake May could definitely play. Jordan Love could play. So these are like top 10, top 12 quarterbacks who definitely have a golden opportunity. But it will be funny if Josh Allen finally wins the Super Bowl. And by the way, if Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl, I think it's time to say that Mahomes is not the number 1 quarterback in the league. It could be Allen, but because he hasn't gotten to that mountaintop, I can't rank anybody above Mahomes. But sorry, that's my one positive for Mahomes on this show here.
Yeah, and I mean we're kind of seeing it that you can win in other ways. So unfortunately for all the elite quarterbacks and the I guess the narrative that you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl, that's kind of going not working this year. All right, Gilbert, let's get to your third one here, and I'm actually really interested in this one. Teams avoiding having 2-star wide receivers.
Yeah, this one got me thinking a little bit, and maybe this is one is a little under the radar right now. But when I saw George Pickens disappear against the Lions on Thursday Night Football, like, dude, that was your moment to earn yourself a big contract, to show the Cowboys, hey, man, like, you guys invested in the right thing here. If CeeDee Lamb ever goes down, I'm your guy. I'm right here. It's kind of like, the T. Higgins effect. And T. Higgins, I think, and I'll get to Cincinnati and why the approach is not a good approach, but he does step up. Like, even in the games when Jamar Chase is playing, Burrow is constantly feeding T. Higgins. They almost beat the Bills because of T. Higgins' incredible play, and he got hurt, unfortunately. But is Pickens better than T. Higgins? I don't think so, because he's not stepping up when it really matters. And so it got me thinking, like, he's gonna be a free agent. Do you pay him, $30 million plus or $35 million? CeeDee Lamb is making $35 million. Like, you can't pay him more than CeeDee Lamb, but George Pickens has some leverage to say, give me 30. I don't think that's the right recipe to win in the NFL when you're investing that much at the wide receiver position. And Look at the Bengals, who I just mentioned. Yeah, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are great. I know Joe Burrow hasn't been healthy. That's part of it. But the defense is terrible. You invested so much at three positions and a lot at one position. You're not well rounded. And look at the Lions, man. And this is where it got me thinking. The Lions are more well rounded offensively. They got a lot of firepower. But when they paid Amon-Ra St. Brown $30 million, they had a second guy in Jamison Williams. It's like, yeah, you're good. And they had some leverage too, and credit for them to using it for their benefit. It's like you got suspended for betting on your phone. You were hurt for most of your rookie year. You haven't really met the potential of a first round pick. We like you though, and you're due for a contract. You want to take a discount? Can it be kind of a win-win on both sides? Like you still have to prove yourself. And they paid him about $26 million per year. So it wasn't the 35 mil. It was a big time discount. I think the Cowboys and Pickens should go that route. I don't think Pickens is going to do that. I think he's going to value himself, which as he should. But unless if they're taking the Lions approach, don't resign Pickens because here's a trend. I was caught. I was wrong here. But when the Seahawks had DK Metcalf and JSN, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Keep those two guys. And then like, you just traded DK Metcalf. Why did you not keep both? Because you had to pay JSN. They believed in JSN to be the number one guy who ascended, by the way. And now it's like, we chose. We're not going to invest in two wide receivers when we got a bunch of money on the defense. Like, they're not paying Darnold a bunch of money, compared to the other guys, but he's still making a good chunk of change. Same thing with Leonard Williams. He's not the number one defensive tackle that's paid. He's making a bunch of money. They got a bunch of guys that are getting paid. You're kind of just, putting the money in other places to build a good completed roster. That was great. Look at the Steelers. They could have had George Pickens and DK Metcalf, and they're like, nah, we're good. We'll pay one guy, and it's going to be DK Metcalf. Look at the Texans. They paid one guy. They got Nico Collins, and they drafted two young guys and Noel and Higgins. So you can't pay two guys. Look at the Bills. They don't even pay one wide receiver. They don't, and they're right here in the mix here. Look at the Chiefs actually started. They didn't want to pay, Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, and they haven't really paid a wide receiver ever since. They just go through the draft. Like, I know the Eagles did it, but Devontae Smith's contract wasn't really that high. They got ahead of it, remember? So there are ways to it here, Vic. But to me, you're seeing that teams are not really investing a lot at wide receiver. The Patriots, perfect example. They're not paying money at wide receiver right now. I know they've been trying, but that's for one guy. Same thing with the Colts. I'm sorry, not the Colts, or Colts too. The Broncos, Sutton is not making that much money. They're not paying a lot for the wide receiver. So to me, that's the way we're headed. Have four guys that are either one superstar and a bunch of guys on rookie contracts. And then if you have two guys who are superstars, let one go, like DK Metcalf and George Pickens. So to me, it's going to be very interesting for Dallas here for what they do.
I'm going to flip it on you here, Gilbert. And I love this conversation because it just got me thinking, like, it's gotten to the point, Gilbert, where I feel like if you're an NFL GM right now, you have to look at the way you look at running backs, right? Where that position has been devalued. And a lot of it has to do with how can we develop the position, right? And whether or not we can be cheap about it, if I'm being honest here. And you look at what's going on with football right around the country, there's less and less people playing football because of the injury concerns. But one thing that hasn't gone down is 7-on-7, right? The wide receiver position is being developed from the start of like elementary all the way to the pros. And so you can draft receivers every year and they're going to be pro ready. So there's no reason for you to be overpaying for the wide receiver position. You shouldn't be doing that. You should be, prioritizing the offensive line. And if you look at the offensive line, it's not being developed as well. And so that's where you should pay your money into the offensive line. And you also should, use it in the draft capital. And I'll talk about it later on when we get to our takeaways from week 14. But what you just said, it makes a lot of sense. It's like you should not be paying your number two receiver. You look at the Rams too. You have a Puka Nacua who you're gonna eventually pay, but you have Devontae Adams on a cheap deal where he's probably gonna retire in a couple years, so you can get out of that contract and you can still pay Puka your number one receiver, and you continue to pay. You continue to draft other receivers to try. The other thing that the Rams do really well is they continue to invest in running backs in the middle rounds, in the third rounds, because that position has been devalued. And so that's the way your approach should be, is like your first couple of rounds, it should be offensive line and quarterback. And then the middle rounds, it should be wide receiver and running back, Gilbert. So I'm with you. Like that's the way you should look at things.
Yeah, and then even with I know fitness is a joke in here. That's how I approach dating: spend more on tight ends and go cheap on wide receivers. But that's the trend too. You've been on it. Like people, like the teams are going to tight ends because, like, all right, if you're gonna splurge on playmakers, get one that does everything. You could block,
Yep.
you can help in the running game, you can help as a playmaker, and that's why guys like Tyler Warren is flourishing right now, and that's why they're getting drafted top 10, like Loveland, did. Brock Bowers was top 12. So the more you do, the better. But two wide receivers that kind of do the same thing, it's just not working out. You mentioned Puka Nacua, fifth round draft pick, and then even if you take one in the first round, take him in the 20s. JSN was top 20,
Yep.
I think. Marvin Harrison Jr. was number 4. He hasn't done anything. So
Yep.
they got Michael Wilson, might be the best wide receiver in Arizona, and he was drafted in the 3rd round. So to me, we talk about running backs and how devalued they are. I think the wide receivers are heading in that direction. So, and the league is catching on. You only pick one to pay, and then if you have a good problem to have where you have two good guys, take the discount or get traded.
Yeah, I'm with you. And yeah, like it in don't pay that second receiver, and you're seeing it. No receiver right now. Like who's the best receivers on some of these teams? It's not somebody you like. You look at the Patriots. I don't think they have a number one receiver. I think it's Booty or someone else. So
Buffalo
yeah,
too.
yeah. The Bears
Matt,
have like a bunch of number twos, and so
yep.
I
Jacksonville hasn't. I know they have Thomas as a first round pick. They haven't paid anybody. They're in the
yep,
playoff mix right now. Broncos' Sutton deal is not that much, and he's not a real number one. Actually, I think.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good one as your number 3. My number 3, Gilbert, and I'm gonna kind of go the other way here. Having an elite defense and a mid-tier quarterback is a winning formula this season, and it's weird. We talked about the Texans, having a nasty defense. You look at the Seahawks with Sam Darnold, and I know C.J. Stroud. He's still a mid-tier quarterback. I'm sorry, like he's won 2 playoff games,
Okay.
but we don't see him as a top 5, top 7 quarterback yet. You look at, I know that Jordan Love has had a great season this year. He's in all those nerdy stats, he's in the top 5. So, but we don't consider him a top 7 quarterback either. We don't consider him an elite quarterback. So this is the year where having an elite defense and having a mid-tier quarterback is probably going to win you the Super Bowl, as we talked about earlier. It's just been one of those weird years, and now we might see things kind of flipping. We just talked about not paying receivers. I think you're going to start seeing people invest more on defense and saying, "Hey, why am I paying $50 million for a quarterback when I can pay, someone like 30 million and I can invest in a defense and pay everybody else?" So I think we might be seeing the switch back now, where people are going to be afraid or say, I don't want to pay my quarterback $50 million. Rather save 20 million and be able to have an elite defense.
Yeah, I kind of like what Houston did this offseason. They went all in with some veterans, thinking they were close, and the Daniel Hunter signing was great. It's still paying off. I thought it was a little risky because he was older, coming from Minnesota, but he's still balling out. Joe Mixon is not around. This season he got hurt. Stephon Diggs, lasted a month there in Houston. At the end of the day, Houston could have just ran it back because they still got to the divisional round, like Stroud's rookie year, where nobody expected them to be in the playoffs. But they took a chance and said, you know what? We're just gonna keep building this defense with a lot of elite guys, and we'll use this opportunity to, fix the offense on the fly. And yeah, we crapped on them when they were on 3. It took a lot. It took a lot of patience. And why did you hire a rookie play caller, Nick Caley? Why did you wait till the 2nd round to take a tackle after you traded Lermy Tunzo? Why did you spend two picks from the 2nd and the 3rd round on 2 wide receivers when you needed more linemen? And to me, it was a lot of things. We were a little like, we did not give this team the benefit of the doubt of like, D'Amico Ryans is going to year 3 of building a very good defense. Like that could be enough to hold it down until the offense figures it out. Maybe in next year, Vic, CJ Stroud could go from the fluky rookie year to 2 mediocre years to becoming more of the rookie year, because there's now the grunt work has been done with Nick Haley. Higgins is starting to grow. Noel's starting to grow. These are young guys who are, and your O line could be better too. The O line still needs to work, I think, Vic. But to me, it's like when you have an elite defense like that, maybe this is a way to build a roster on the fly. And we were just too impatient. At least I was impatient. I think you're on the Texans longer than I was. So I kind of like what they did. Maybe more teams should take notice. And the Rams did that the year they paid the tab. The Bills have done that the year they paid the tab. The 49ers are doing it right now the year they paid the tabs. Like, there are ways to grow your team. It's kind of like a give and take approach, right? You're going to maybe hurt this team for this side of the football for a couple months, but you can rely on that side. Like, when you're the 49ers, like, you could rely on a new look defense, because McCaffrey is just going to hold it down offensively. Same thing with Houston. Same thing with Denver. Bo Nix is still trying to find his way, but he has a freaking good defense. So to me, more teams should take that approach where take a chance on building one side of the football while you're leaning on a different one that's already built.
Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of examples, Gilbert, whether, like you said, pick one side of the ball and spend the money. Like, you look at the Rams. I know we keep going back to the Rams, but they have the most expensive offense out there, right? They pay for their offense, but they have one of the cheapest defense, and they build it through the draft. So if you're gonna pay for one side of the ball, do it. That's fine, but you need to make sure that you're drafting well on the other side of that ball. If you're gonna be, if you're gonna build this the right way. And you look around the league right now. Yeah, I saw that tweet yesterday about Quinn Jammer
I'm
playing
surprised
drunk.
how much it blew up on Quinter Jammer playing drunk. But yeah, sorry.
He was a top 5 pick, right?
I forget, but he was really good with the Chargers for a year. And I thought that was kind of a known thing where back in the day players were playing on coke or drunk, but now suddenly we forgot. And I didn't know. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal, but it really was.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence Taylor played coked out for in the 80s. So I mean, ask Bill Belichick about it. He said, "Oh, he would show up late to meetings." Like, yeah, it's fine, and we know what we get out of a Lawrence Taylor. So if you're an elite player, you can get away with a lot of things. So I'm not
I'm sure the
surprised.
Cowboys in the '90s were on stuff on game day too.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sports out there that do that. I wanted to get to this comment here because from Angel, and he says, if Josh Allen doesn't win the Super Bowl with the Chiefs not in, is he a fraud? And I saw something today where they were saying that about how, with kind of like what's happened between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes this season, and you look at it, and I thought somebody made a great observation in terms of the building of both of these teams. And I get it. Like, I saw your colleague Matt kind of reply to it because he wasn't happy about the fact that, I guess his response was, well, Mahomes has the excuse that he's won all these Super Bowls, right? And then you look at Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, right? And there was a time there with Peyton Manning wasn't winning the Super Bowls, but we knew that Peyton Manning was a better quarterback, right? And I feel like Josh Allen is the better quarterback right now. If I'm being completely honest, he just doesn't have the Super Bowl rings. It still doesn't take away from what we saw the other day, like where he carried that team to a win. He has a banked up offensive line, but I think the difference between the Chiefs and the Bills this season, Gilbert, is the fact that the Bills have a running game. The fact that they can rely on Cooks, like that is a big thing. The Chiefs, for whatever reason, like I keep going back to it, we haven't talked about the Chiefs and the fact that what things have gone wrong for them. Like, they have a better team than they did last year, but the big difference is they just refuse to get a running game, Gilbert. Like, I get that they're missing 3 offensive linemen, but the fact that they've never been able to establish a running game for the last couple of years, I think has been a detriment to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, that's a big point on the Chiefs here. But, with the Bills as a team, I think they're a fraud.
Yes,
As
I'm with
for
you.
for the quarterback, I think Josh Allen is not a fraud. He's a special generational talent where the way I view him is like, and you want to talk about guys without rings, like he's Cam Newton and Dan Marino in one as in one body. Like, He could
Yep.
throw. He's a freaking tank. He could take the hits. He's mobile. That 50-yard run on the Bengals in the snow was epic. There's only one person in the world that could do that, and it's Josh freaking Allen. Like, I can't rank him ahead of Mahomes because at the end of the day, Super Bowls do matter.
Yeah.
But it's like Justin Herbert, like he doesn't have the playoff wins. But I watch football. I have two eyes. He's freaking good. Same thing
Yep.
with Josh Allen. But Angel, I'll flip the question to you. Like, say Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl and he doesn't have to face Kansas City. People are gonna put an asterisk on
Oh
that
yeah.
Super Bowl. It's like he couldn't avenge his 4 losses to Mahomes. Like, big whoop. Who cares? He finally got one. It's like when Ohio State won the national title, but they couldn't beat Michigan in the season. They had to discredit it. When the Dodgers won in the COVID year, discredit. It's going to be unfortunate if it does happen, but if Josh Allen wins it, Mahomes or not in the playoffs, he's going to be my number one quarterback in all of football.
Yeah, and he also says if he doesn't win it this year, is that it for him? No, as long as you have Josh Allen, you're gonna be like it was the whole Joe Burrow thing. As long as you have him as your quarterback, you're gonna be in it every year. And until he finally shows that he's not a superhero, I think eventually you're gonna see it kind of like what we saw with John Elway. Like to
Yeah.
me, he's this generation's John Elway, Gilbert, where he has the talent, he has everything, it just doesn't work out for you. We saw John Elway get to the Super Bowl and get blown out. It isn't until he has a good team around him that he's probably gonna need a coach, a new coach. Like we saw when Shanahan was hired by the Broncos, that's when he was able to finally win those 2 Super Bowls, and they had Davis as his running back. And so I think the same thing might happen with Josh Allen here, where they finally fire the coach. They
Yeah.
bring in someone that can actually win. It kind of reminds me like we've seen it in every sport, Gilbert, whether it's the Lakers when they finally brought in Phil Jackson, where they were missing that coach. They're just missing the coach, I feel like here, Gilbert. Like until they figure out
Yeah.
the coach, I don't think they can win a Super Bowl.
That's why I think they're a fraud. And I know what you're saying about them having a better running game with James Cook, but when Josh Allen is playing hero ball, that's when this team is at its best. But the downside, it's a risky play. Like you could probably be in a game and dominate, but playing hero ball, it's a recipe for a collapse or a disaster. I think if they play with James Cook as a featured player, they're not going to win anything. Imagine having James Cook as your best player against Houston or Denver, all these defenses. It has to be superhero Josh Allen. The downside is when you ask a player to do too much, you're opening the door for a lot of risky outcomes. So to me, until you find a coach that's able to blend both of that, the superhero and the running game, it's hard for me to take them seriously.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think that defense is like again, Sean McDermott is a defensive guy. That defense is just
Exactly.
horrid. Like, we talked about it with D'Amico Ryans. We've talked about it with other defensive coordinators that have done really well the last couple of years. Their defensive coordinators first, and their defense are good or elite. Sean McDermott has defense isn't good. Like, and that's what that's your coach, that's what you're known for, and yet you still can't elevate your defense. That's on the coaching. And so to me, that just that's why I'm with you. I just don't see the Bills making a run this year. And even with Josh Allen, it's just you're going to run into a better either a really good defense and a better coach. And that's what you need right now is good coaching and a good defense to win this year. All right, Gilbert, let's go quickly here to our Compas biggest week 14 takeaways. Let's start off with yours here.
Yeah, to me, would it hurt anybody to start building more outdoor stadiums? And I'm not talking about the one in Buffalo where like it has a roof but it's still open. Like the roof is gonna stop some of the snow there. I get it that the Buffalo fans don't have to shovel snow off their seats anymore, but like I kind of want this, you know, open air, no roof stadium. Nobody's building that anymore. I think Cleveland's trying to get a dome. Chicago's trying to get a dome. LA is a dome. Dallas is a dome. Artificial turf. Like I want games that have weather elements, and I get it. Sometimes there's a hurricane coming through, and we got to be safe, or there's a lightning that hits here. But it was fun watching the Bears and the Packers smack each other in the cold. It was fun watching Arrowhead Stadium. What happened with Kansas City and Houston? It was fun watching the snowball between Burrow and Josh Allen. Like like if you're the Bills, that's your home field advantage. You're the only team that's able to play in the snow in these conditions. Josh Allen could do it. Joe Burrow had 2 interceptions. He struggled. One of the best pocket quarterbacks in the league. He couldn't play in the snow. So to me, it's a shame that we're going to lose some of that because it might get to a point where like 22 or maybe 25 stadiums in the NFL are indoors. There's no weather elements, and that's kind of annoying here. For football, that's the way football should be played. But I get it. We all want to be indoors. I like being indoors, but I want to watch football when people are outdoors smacking each other.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, where fantasy football has had a big effect on things that we see in the NFL, Gilbert. This is one of them. People don't, like, hey, I have a fantasy matchup late in the year. I don't want to see my players play outdoors because it's gonna affect
Yeah.
the fantasy points that I'm gonna have. And I'm with you, man. Like it's nice having some of those outdoor games, like those stadiums where you're gonna see those type of elements affect the game. I want to see it like late in the season. Like, yeah, I know it's horrible to see like 10-7 games, like, but eventually those things are going to go away. And, that's why we have the Super Bowl. You get to kind of rotate it. That's what makes the Super Bowl special is because not only do you have a halftime show, but you also have where you have the control environment there. And then that way, you can have the possibility of having a high scoring game during the playoffs. That's one of the things I want to see. Like
Oh yeah.
when I heard that they were talking about in baseball where they wanted to bring that approach to the NFL where they have the World Series in one place. I'm like, no, I don't want to see that. Like, I want to have the elements of being able to go on the road and having the fans there. Like, imagine you're a fan and you're having to travel to one venue for 7
7
games.
games.
I don't want to see that. Like, I'm good the way it is right now. Just keep it like that. But I think I'm with you that there needs to be a way where we at least keep 7 stadiums outdoor, and those are the ones that cannot be turned into a dome because or else we're not going to have those element games, and I think we're going to miss out on a lot of cool football.
You would think that Soldier Field would be one of those teams where you don't mess with it, but they're going to be indoors for their new stadium too. You're gonna lose Lambeau, the Lambeau Soldier Field rivalry. It's going to be Lambeau and then some modern dome crap in the suburbs of Chicago. But Arrowhead Stadium should never be closed. I think they were trying to build a new stadium there. Lambeau obviously should always be outdoors. Like I don't know. To me, I kind of like this classic outdoors. And like you mentioned, if we just keep 10 and make that a priority, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good, give and take. Mine, Gilbert, I'm gonna keep it. Let's give an offensive line and offensive rookie of the year during a down year. Like I'm looking at the top 5 candidates right now: Ted McMillan, Jackson Dart, Amika Buka, Tyler Warren, Krishan John. Like none of those dudes have stood out this year, and so I look at someone like Armand Menbu who has made 12 starts, has a 91 passing block rate, 78% run blocked rate. Like give it to a lineman in a down year. Like I would have also given it to Will Campbell had he stayed healthy. Like we need to start giving the offensive linemen some love here. Like I just hated that. Like we finally made an award for the offensive linemen, but it's for like the veterans. Like why not give during a down year where there's nobody kind of running away with it? Like give it to an offensive lineman. I'm cool with it.
I like that. If we have to give it to a skilled player and it's nobody's running away with it, then you got to go with the consistent guy. And I think that's Tyler Warren. Jackson Dora hasn't played enough games. He's been hurt. Mecca Ibuka just fell off the earth or whatever after the hamstring injury. Ted McMillan has not been consistent enough. So yeah, if Membu gets it, I would not be mad at it. But I just know how the voters are, and my guess it could maybe be Tyler Warren, and even that would be kind of refreshing because the tight end never really gets it either.
Yeah, I'm good with Tyler Warren if that's the case. Hopefully uh Rivers can help him out there
Yeah.
with it. All right, Gilbert, let's get we haven't done Bury of the Week, so let's do it I'm actually really interested here what you're gonna go here. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Yeah, like you mentioned, we haven't done a burial of the week in a while, so this tells you how annoyed I've been this past week, to where I had to tell you, let's talk about this, and I knew that you're gonna have some good stuff here, and I apologize in advance if this is not my area of expertise here, but I'll say this: the stuff that I agree with. I get it. The Netflix taking over, Warner Brothers and HBO and Discovery, or whatever the hell you want to call it. Maybe the product might take a hit, because I think there's a big difference between how Netflix makes movies and shows, and how HBO. And I know HBO has been dying already. You could get more into that, but I like the shows that they make. They're different. They feel also like a step above. And I know people are trying to say that maybe Apple TV is a new HBO, and maybe that's the case. It's more about quality than quantity. So I get that part. But the whole thing about, like, oh, it's gonna ruin the movie theater aspect, I'm like, and I'll get to the reasons why personally I don't give a crap about that.
Yeah.
But to see Hollywood kind of rally and say Netflix is the devil, is like, really, just billionaires crying, or millionaires crying about billionaires. Like, I think the reason why Hollywood is mad is because the money is in movie ticket sales. Like, you don't make as much money as streaming. It's kind of like, with music, when they were selling records, they were making more money. Now it's like Spotify. It's like you get 2 cents and 3 cents, and it's not the
Mhm.
same. And people are mad about it. So, and I hate that these rich people are telling now the average person who spends all their money at the movie theaters, you should be mad. There's gonna be no more movie theater experience here. You should be upset that we're not making more millions of dollars here. And it's like, why? Like, I'm already paying a shitload of money for
Yep.
Netflix. Give me movies. Why am I gonna pay $20 to go to the movies when I know that movie's coming out in 2 weeks, because I'm already spending $20 on Netflix? It's like the whole boxing model, which is so stupid for a long time, where it's like, we're not making the fights you want to see, but everything's going to be 70 $75. And then boxing is like, why is our sport dying? Why is nobody watching? Because you're not giving us fights that we want to see, and you're still asking for $75 for a pay-per-view. You're seeing with UFC and Paramount, they're pivoting, because nobody's watching that crappy streaming platform on Paramount,
Yep.
because they know they need something that people will go to them. But with UFC, they have a product that people want. There's no stars. There's no big time developing of high profile fights. So we're not paying $75 for a UFC pay per view fight. But you know what? We'll pay $20 if it's on Paramount for the streaming. So it's kind of a win win. Paramount still makes some money back on their platform, because I'm probably going to pay for it now because they got UFC, and UFC is going to get more eyeballs on their product that has no stars since Conor McGregor, and they met in the middle. Why can't we do that with Netflix and the movies, where go out and watch a movie for 2 weeks? Like, why do we have to have it out there for a month? I'm actually pissed off, Vic, that I can't get Knives Out 3 until December 12th. I'm paying $20 on Netflix. Give me the freaking movie right now. Stop showing me the promo. It's going to be out in 2 weeks. Tell me right now I want it. And
Yeah.
for selfish reasons, I don't care about going to the movies. I go to the movies, 4 times a year, just like boxing. I care about 3 big fights a year. I'm not paying $75 for pay-per-view, and I'll find a different way to not pay for it. So, I don't want to go rub elbows with John and Edward and fighting for space. I'm not trying to get in line with all the mocoso kids trying to get popcorn and whatever candy and pay $20. Don't tell me about the A-list on AMC. I still have to get my ass in line, drive my ass over, deal with a sticky floor, have to go take a piss, and then I missed a freaking scene. I could pause it at home. Like, don't tell me that the TV screen is too big. Like at the theaters, go watch that movie. The screen is huge. My TV is just fine at home. I don't give a crap about that. And if I really want to go make an effort to go watch a movie, and I can't wait after I spent $20 on Netflix, $20 on HBO, $20 on Hulu, $20 on Apple TV. If I really can't wait 2 weeks, then I will take my ass to the theater. I'm not there for the concession stands. I'm not there for the big screen. It's because I can't wait for the product. So that's 3 or 4 times a year. So don't tell me to pay for Netflix and then tell me to go pay for the movie. So I gave you a bunch of crap there, but the biggest pet peeve is Hollywood telling people, hey, you should be mad. No more movie theater experience like back in the day with your parents. No more going taking your kids to spend $100 and be in line and miss half the movie and can't even go to the bathroom. Like, Hollywood, shut up. You got mad because Netflix was ahead of the curve. They pretty much were saying, Blockbuster, come bail us out here. And they're beating the crap out of you because you can't be innovative. Fox, Disney, your cycle is broken. Netflix is actually being innovated, and now we're saying this is the franchise is killing everything. Yeah, right. You're just mad because you're getting freaking destroyed when it comes to competition. I'm done.
Yeah, so that's a lot to get into there.
Yeah.
I'll start with, like, I think the reason a lot of people are upset is because whenever you have monopolies like that, you start taking jobs away, right? So it's like, so imagine like you're a B reporter, Gilbert. Like you moved up, right? Like you were like, hey, I want to go and work at another place because I'm done working here in terms of like I want bigger and better things. And I think you want to have that, if you're an actor, you want competition, right? When you have three companies owning everything, then it takes away from competition. Like you're not seeing movies being made that like we are seeing the same garbage over and over, right? Like you just saw Zootopia 2 make a bunch of money. Like right now, animation is just taking over. Like some of the biggest films right now in the industry are all animation. And so, like you go and see, movies like Sinners. Like I thought the going into the theater and watching it was way different than me being at home to watch it. And so you miss out on those things. I get it. Like I said, I understand where you're coming from because like everybody's situation is different. Not everybody has, like where, me and my wife are, don't have kids. And so we don't have that responsibility where we can go watch movies, twice a week, and so everybody's thing is different. But in terms of this, it's going to be an uphill battle in terms of what's going to happen with Warner Brothers, because I wouldn't be surprised, Gilbert, if because of who is in charge right now in terms of who the president is, Paramount and who owns Paramount, they want they want Warner Brothers, and so don't be surprised
Yeah.
if the Netflix deal doesn't go through. And so you were gonna continue to talk about it, but in
But why is
terms of
Paramount
Netflix,
better than
huh?
Netflix? I just don't get it. It's the same evil.
Yeah.
It's just, for whatever reason, we're spinning as Netflix as being the worst of all evils. Paramount is just as bad too.
Yeah, they're all like they're all in the same boat. If I'm being completely honest, for me, is just I just want to be able to go see the best films available, and I want to be able to have filmmakers be able to do that. I want actors to be have more. Like I don't want to keep seeing the same roles for the same actors. Like there should be other dudes being able or women being able to have different roles out there. Like and also like we're in that age right now where you're seeing a bunch of really good directors. You want to be able to like like you have Quentin or Tino out there talking shit about Paul Dano and some of
Yeah.
the other actors, and I'm like I would want to see more of those directors be able to make more movies. Like some of them don't want to make movies right now, and it's because of what's going on in Hollywood. And then finally, like the last thing, 2026, Gilbert, you better strap in because like there's so many good movies that you're gonna want to go out to the movie theater. Like if you look at all the films that are coming out in 2026, and part of it is because we are 2 years apart from the strike that happened. And so
Yeah.
now you're gonna see a bunch of people going back to the movies, and everybody's like, I want to go to the movies because like if you look at that 2026 and you got Toy Story. I mean, there's so many Avengers, Doomsday. Like there's so much stuff coming out next year that you're gonna want to go back to the movies, to the movie theaters, I should say. And so I think that's gonna be a big thing.
I don't know. It's kind of like with boxing. Like I don't get the urge to spend $75. I don't even get the urge to go to watch parties anymore. Like because of what they've done. It's like give it to me for $10 at the comfort of my own home. And believe it or not, like, and I'm not saying I'm not taking a shot at you, Vic, but like all the people who are complaining about the movie experience dying are the ones that like it. The ones that actually don't care about it and that they enjoy watching it from the comfort of their home, they're quiet because they're not outraged. They don't need to comment. And
Yeah.
it's like, believe it or not, there's a large audience just like me that gives no crap about spending money. And like you mentioned, especially a lot of people with kids. And, sometimes it could be like a nice experience to take your kid out, but it's very expensive when you're also paying all these other apps. And, don't give me a monopoly when I'm still paying for a freaking Paramount and a Hulu and everything. There's just too much out there. I want to go back to cable. That's how bad it is. But
Yeah.
it's just people are just so upset because they're not getting their way. But there's a large audience just like me that doesn't give a crap about this. If we're saving money at the end of the day, and you're telling me I can get Knives Out 3 today after I spent $20, cool. Like, you're telling me about, I could have had Sinners after I paid $20 on HBO Max right away instead of having to go to the theaters, a movie that I wanted to see. $20 there, actually $40. I'm going with two people, and we get popcorn, and then we have to go pay, again to have HBO Max. So to me, it's like, when the Netflix guy says, I don't even know what his freaking name, the CEO guy says, oh, like this is what people want. People want to be watching from home. I think there's some truth to it, and it's just that people who are not agreeing with that or outraged in the comments, and that's the way we're being made to believe. And not all the rich actors are saying, "See, people want this." I'm like, there's also people that are cool with streaming at home because they're paying for everything. But I get it. Everything is really broken, Vic, and I get the whole job part of it. And but the freaking Warner Bros. People ruin HBO. Like, it's already screwed up. Like, who's gonna save it? Paramount? I don't have no faith in them. Like,
none of those. Like, and this is the other thing too, Gilbert, that's gonna change is, think about sports. Like, there's a lot of people that would rather watch the games at home than, when I have Red Zone, why do I need to go to a game? Like, why do I need to go watch the Chargers at SoFi? Why do I need to go watch the Rams? Like, but it's the experience. You want to be out there with other people. Like to me, one of the best, memories that I have is being able to go watch Endgame, at 4 a.m. in the morning with a bunch of nerds. Like, no one can take that away from me, and having that experience is the same thing. Like, whatever you're into, whether it's, like a sporting event, like the fact that you're able to go tailgate with other people and having that community. If you take that away from people, like you say, hey, we're no longer going to have fans in our stadium. We're just going to have you guys watch it from home. Like, people are not going to be happy about that because it takes away from the experience. And so I think that's,
it's like, what's wrong with having 2 weeks to go watch? If you're really gonna want to go watch the movie, what's wrong with 2 weeks instead of the month or two? And I think people are really upset about that. Like, I just don't understand. To me, 2 weeks is perfectly fine. Where, like, if I really want to go see the movie and I really want to go deal with elbow space and sticky floors and annoying people, I will make time in the 2 weeks. And if I can't, I get to watch it at home because I already paid for it on all these damn platforms. So, I get the whole we're gonna kill the movie goer experience, but like, it's not going to go away. It's kind of like the boxing strategy where the zone is going to take over. No more pay-per-views. Guess what? There's still pay-per-views. How the hell was Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach on pay-per-view for $75? I found a different way to watch it. I won't tell you how. It was a fun fight, not $75 worth. And, that's kind of what it feels like. It's an old model. It's outdated. And Netflix, to their credit, they found a way and they're making bank off it. It's sour grapes all around to me. And I know I'm not the most knowledgeable person here, but to me, it's like, I just want to speak for the people who don't really care about it because everybody's whining about the whole movie experience when it's not going away because there's too much money to be made. That's why boxing is still doing it.
And I'm with Hungry Time. I said the problem is these companies trying to make money. We should have both options for real. Like, it's true. Like, just like, and there's that model, like you said. I think eventually all these streamers, everybody is gonna have to evolve. Like, movie theaters. Like, I get it. There should be something for everybody, but you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, like, when you see people complaining out there, like, I just think people take it way too far, and you kind of have to look and meet in the middle, right? Like, there's people that like going and having the theater experience, but there's also people that just want to be at home to watch it. And so that's why I think there should be a month grace where you allow movies to be in movie theaters for about a month, and then or you should have the option, if you want to pay extra, to be able to watch it at home. That's your option. Like, as long as you have the money, you should be able to. But like, we wanted to go watch Knives Out 3 because we heard hey, it's a better experience at the movie theaters. We found like a little ass theater and we went to go see Knives Out. I still haven't spoiled it for anybody. I think it's a great film. It might be better than the first one. Huh?
I got 3 more days before I can watch it.
Yeah, 3 more days. Yeah.
I already paid for it.
I was pissed, and I was pissed. Like, we couldn't find a freaking movie theater to go see Frankenstein. I still haven't seen it. I refuse to watch it because like, we couldn't find a movie theater, because that's the other thing. And I think it looks like it's finally changed where Netflix is finally allowing AMC to be able to show their movies. Like, they missed out on so much money, Gilbert, too. Like with what's the animated something Hunters, the animated movie that
Yeah,
a
the
bunch of
K-pop Demon Hunters.
yeah, K-pop Demon Hunters. Like, imagine if they had that movie out, like they would have made so much
Yeah.
money, but instead they waited and it blew up. Like, you're still able to make like the money that you want, but I would have wanted, if I had a kid or my kid wanted to go and watch it in the movie theater, I wanted that experience. And finally, like when they saw the numbers, they finally agreed to a deal with AMC and they put it in theaters for a limited time. But and then I just saw like you're gonna see a bunch of nerds in January, like, and I know Caroline's gonna drag you in January to go see Lord of the Rings because that Lord of the Rings extended version is gonna
Oh,
be out. And guess what, Gilbert? You're gonna have to go with Caroline
I've seen
and
that
sit
movie
there
too
for an
many
extra
times.
20 minutes
No.
because that's one of your wife's favorite movies or
You know what's
soon to be
funny?
wife.
Whenever we watch that freaking what's the Fellowship of the Ring, the first one,
Yeah,
she makes me watch it, once a month. I always
yeah,
say, please, not the extended version, not the extended. For the love of God, that's
yeah,
freaking 4 hours. Just give me the
yeah,
2 hours and call it a day. So, and one more thing
yeah,
here, like, and you might know better than this, but I don't know how many people do this in Hollywood. But whenever I see one saying, I won't do that movie because it's on Netflix. I only do movies that go to the theater. Like, shut up. Like that's jobs right there. You're
yeah,
passing on it, and it's not gonna go away. It's kind of like the beat reporters and journalism. I refuse to do TikTok. I refuse to do videos on YouTube.
yep,
Well, you get left behind. And it's like,
yep,
I know this is a whole different thing, but I didn't feel bad for Kevin Spacey when he's talking about, I'm poor. Nobody's
yeah,
hiring me anymore. Like, that's your own fault there.
yep.
Like, there's jobs out there, and these people are too good to take them because it's going straight to TV. Like, shut the hell up. Like, the
Yep.
times are changing and people just don't
Yeah.
get it.
Look, Gilbert, like, guess what? One of the number one jobs is out there is Hallmark movies. Like, a lot of people, like, I know you laugh, but like,
Yeah, I know.
there's
People watch
people
it.
like the Hallmark channels make so much bank. Like, there's a lot of actors that we grew up on, or like they're who one of the queens of Hallmark movies is one of the actresses from Mean Girls. Like, you're starting to see that there is people are taking the bank and they're looking for it in other ways. And so even that, like, you just have to evolve. Like, you can't just sit there and be like, well, Netflix is taking over and this is like, you're gonna have to evolve. And like, I'm grateful. I'm actually surprised I'm saying that, but I'm kind of grateful for Tom Cruise because, like, Tom Cruise, he's one of those dudes that is out there like promoting movie theaters, and so shout out to him. And I
Guy,
honestly thought that after COVID we weren't going to see movie theaters as much, but
it
I
survived.
don't think either one is going to die, Gilbert. Like, I
Yeah.
just think people are still going to go back to the movie theaters, especially next year when you look at all those movies that are going to come out.
Yeah.
So
My biggest
yeah,
thing is just don't carry the water for the rich people who are complaining
yeah,
about the one that outsmarted them and just kind of was more innovative about it, and they cater more to us. Like, and I keep bringing boxing and UFC, and so you brought up sports. Like, we're always getting screwed here, and it's like, let's not forget here who the real bad guys are here. Like, I want to save money. That's so bad here. And if we have 2 weeks to go watch the movie, I will go watch the freaking movie and splurge. But like, it's just too many times we get screwed. It's like the whole freaking YouTube TV thing where I didn't have the channels that I paid for about a month, and it's like, it's always like rich people saying it's your fault, and it's like, I'm so tired of it, and I just hated seeing how these Hollywood types who are not making as much money as the executives. I get it; they're still making a lot of money. Telling people want to do this. Come on, think of the children. It's like, shut up, you don't care. Like, you just have a certain way how you work. You're stubborn. You don't want to change the wheel because you don't like to change with the times, and you're getting left behind because you're an old actor. So to me, that's what I really have an issue here. But to me, and one is like, there are people out there like me. Just believe it or not, I just wanted to defend myself and other people.
no, and yeah, I'm with you. And then the last point I'll make here, Gilbert, is like, even in what we're doing right here, having a podcast, right? Like, you have, Stephen A. Smith and some of these talking heads who are making that much money, right? Guess where this is going? It's going to podcast, like what we're doing right now, because a lot of people feel like they don't have a voice. Like, one of the most popular things is like, hey, we talk about our teams here. So that's becoming another thing. Like, for the people who thought that, hey, I don't have a voice, like, podcast is becoming a huge thing, whether it's movies, sports, whatever it is, like podcasts are taking over because of that. Because, like, hey, I don't have to listen to Stephen A. I don't have to listen to Nick Wright. Tell me how I'm supposed to react to something. Like the hot take stuff is kind of going away, and people are more invested in podcasts. And it's the same thing, like with anything. You have to evolve. If you don't evolve, you're gonna get left behind. And so I think that's where the movie theaters needs to look at is like,
Yeah.
hey, you need to evolve or else you're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, we're seeing it in old media in different ways, and especially in sports. Nobody cares about ESPN anymore, and that's why ESPN is hiring the people who already created a brand from themselves. I get it; some of them are former players that already had a brand, but they're bringing in guys like Bussin' with the Boys. They're bringing Pat McAfee, and I think I saw an interview with Bomani Jones, and he said for a long time, ESPN was innovative. Now they ran out of ideas. They're hiring the people who already have the marketing and the branding because they're lazy and they're losing a bunch of money. So now is the time to be creative, like just for not just for people, for movies. Like if you're a creative person and you're saying nobody's opening the door for me, it's now the time. Create a path for yourself. And I think that's what bothers me about this, where like people who've been established in movies or just complaining because things are changing. And I saw that so much with the Twitter journalism world. 10 years ago, old people were so mad, and I'm like, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna learn
Yep.
TikTok. Like, there's a reason why we got to evolve. And I hate how the old traditional medias, people operate and the way they think. They always want new ideas, but they never actually take the ideas. And I know we're going to a different topic here, but
Yeah.
hey, Netflix was out there. It put itself out there. It tried something different. They used to sell DVDs for rentals, and
Yeah.
you know, freaking Redbox was doing the same thing. It's just Netflix took it to a whole nother level, and now they're just buying people. I don't like Monopoly either. It's the same thing with I keep going to this. Boxing's crying about UFC and the Muhammad Ali Act. You also killed the sport yourself. Like
Yep.
you don't want things to change, and then UFC was trying to take everybody's money off of the Conor McGregor Ronda Rousey era, and guess what? Nobody was paying because you have no stars, and now they're going to Paramount. It's just you got to be always thinking ahead, and I just go back to whatever's going to be worth my money. We will pay for the things that we want. That's the way we are.
Oh yeah.
It's just find the way to meet in the middle. I'm not saying go kill the cinema experience. It's just I just don't like the finger pointing from the snobby people.
Yeah, and I think part of it too, Gilbert, is I know, like you said, we kind of gone off topic there too, where I think a lot of it too that I'm kind of annoyed with this topic is the influencers. Like there's influencers in sports, there's influencers in cinema, and they're telling you, well, this is the movie you need to go and see. This is the movie like. This is the show that is terrible. It's like there's one creator that I do appreciate out there, and I don't know if you've seen him, but there's a guy who he calls himself the taco fiend, right? And he started where he was going around the country like looking for the best tacos, right? But at the end of every one of his videos, he said, "This is just my opinion. You need to go out there and you need to experience this for yourself, so that way you get your own
Yep.
opinion." Right? Like I feel like the influence of a lot of people out there is getting out of hand where I need to go stand in line. You shouldn't be going and standing in line for anything. Like, yeah, if it's something good, you're going to pay for it. Like you just said, you're going to take the time to stand in line, but not because some influencer told me that, hey, like this is the best team out there or whatever it is. And so that's where we're kind of getting out of line. And those are also the same people that are saying, well, the movie experience is dying because of this or that or because of Netflix. It's honestly like some of that kind of stuff, because they're being paid and someone is telling them like, "Hey, say this." That's also part of the problem.
Yeah, and this comment here from Hungry Tim says, "Sorry to tell you, but AI is coming for podcast next." And that kind of goes to my point here about how these rich people are just being cheap, and they're trying to save the most money or make the most money. And
Yep.
AI is going to be here whether we like it or not, because for companies, it's gonna be cost effective. It can make them a bunch of money. But the thing that we have to deal with, or not just me, is like you got to somehow embrace AI. And if you totally hate AI, guess what? There's a large audience out there, believe it or not, again, that hates AI, and they're gonna watch genuine, authentic, real humans talk. It's your moment. You could find the audience out there, and it's like,
Yep.
oh, I can't because I don't know how to use AI. People care about this. The world is huge, man. People are gonna find what
Yep.
they want. Believe it or not, again, people like Stephen A. Smith, but
Yep.
there's people that hate it. So go with whatever you
They hate
feel comfortable
watch.
with. Yeah, hate, and then like just find your audience, and like that's the way it is. That's the thing about and again, it goes back to maybe your point here with the monopoly. It's like media, there's so many options that you create your own avenue, your own audience, and you don't have to do it some rich guy's way. And that's what I love about this time. It's kind of
Yep.
like this gold rush era of being creative. I know it's saturated the podcast market. I know it's gonna probably go away to AI. I hate AI too. I might lose a job soon, but I'm trying to find different ways here. So I know this conversation is
I
really long, but go
thanks,
ahead.
Brett Gardner. He says going to be a decent amount of humans out there. I will be one because I'm just here for Vic. Thank you,
Yeah,
Brett.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Go watch the
this is a
go
good
watch movies with Vic.
conversation. I mean,
You
I didn't
prefer
think we
company,
spend
Vic.
almost 20 minutes on here, but I'm with you. I think it kind of like this topic kind of takes you in different ways, and where we are right now in the world and in the podcast world, I guess, is we're in the same boat. Like people want to see humans and they don't want to see AI. So you need to find a niche that makes you stand out. Like, and even like Angel says here, there's a podcast for dogs, there's a podcast for everything. And so you just, there's something for everybody. And it's just you need to find what it is that you like and what makes you feel good about and for us it's about like, hey, what makes the compas, it's us, it's being genuine. And so at the end of the day, if you
Yeah,
find that
well said.
interesting, then you're gonna like our podcast, and I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, we would just try to keep it real. People might not like what I say, and there's gonna be times where, believe it or not, you might not like what Victor says sometimes.
Yep.
But I think you could build a company, Vic, where you go out and find the movies or the theaters that movies are being played at where you can't find them. Like you refuse to watch Frankenstein on Netflix, and you say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I found the theater over here. Come join me for this experience." I bet you people
Yeah.
will pay you to be like the movie hunter, and then hey, we'll have a watch together. Like there's a business for that. Like now, I feel like you
Yeah.
should. I want to invest in where you
Yeah.
tell people it's like the prohibition era where there's no alcohol. They're showing a Netflix movie at this theater. Come on
Yeah.
over. Like yeah, it's gonna be a weird time in the next couple
Yep.
years.
Yeah, and I like you said, I think that's the biggest thing with this topic is being able to evolve. Like you can't stay behind, man. Like everything's gonna be, you know, everything's gonna continue to change. And if it, that's one of the things too. Like when we started, in school at CSUN, like it was one way of doing things, right? Like now we're doing this. Like I didn't know anything about doing a podcast. I didn't know anything about designing, a podcast and the overlays and doing rundowns and all that stuff. But we've evolved. Like we've all evolved,
Yeah,
but we've gotten better at it. And so we're
yeah,
here. Like we're what you guys are 5 years in. This is my fourth year with you guys. So
yeah.
man, you just gotta, like I said, you gotta evolve with the times, or else you're gonna get left behind. And I was like, look, I love talking sports. I still love talking about movies, but if I don't change the approach of what I want to talk about or the way we do things, we're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, yeah, I know we gotta go. And last thing here, you got me thinking because man, I felt like the Twitter era was such a scam, and everybody tells you in journalism, you gotta get on Twitter, you gotta post, you gotta post. And then all these companies are like, "Why aren't we getting the views? Because you're giving away all your crap." I was gonna say, I'll say
Yep.
it. Giving away all your free shit to Twitter. The
Yeah.
apps are making the money, and it's like, "Oh, we gotta let you off." And I'm like, I just been busting my ass posting on Twitter for people to see for free, and it's like, well, that's what you wanted. Well, no, we don't want that anymore. And for the last 10 years, I kid you not, it's like, how can we get more traffic to our site? And it's like, well, if you tell me to stop spending half my day on social media, I could help you. But it's just
Yep.
that's I could do a whole show on media. Maybe we should, Vic. But yeah,
Yeah.
this is a media episode. When Dan and Fernando are not here, we go off the rails and talk about digital media here. So and Dan and Fernando hopefully will join us next week. They can't be here this week. Consider it a little bit of a bye week for them. They're all good, but we'll get back to them hopefully soon in the near future. But yeah, they'll be back soon.
Yeah, and uh, yeah, this was a good conversation. We went a little long there, but hey, man, like sometimes you never know. I think those are the best. Like I think one of the things I've learned as we go forward, Gilbert, is that instead of like, yeah, it's good to have structure when we talk about things, but at the same time, sometimes a good conversation, man, spurs out of nowhere, and you just got to go along with it. And so, I'm glad you brought this up, and we were able to have a little bit of a kind of back and forth, and like we didn't scream at each other. We kind of talked it out, and I think that's a good approach with these things, especially when you have a podcast like this and where you have a visual media, and also eventually we're gonna have this as an audio version as well. So I hope people enjoy this in this conversation. And hey, that's where we're at. This is the future, and we're trying to evolve with it.
Yeah. Yeah. With that, let's get out of here and we'll get back to our traditional format. But it's good to try new things here. And next week we'll have the power rankings, we'll have the picks, and but yeah, I think the good thing about the people that we have in the comments here, they know we like to go off the rails. We like to have
Yep.
random conversations. They like to see Dan annoyed. They like to see me be annoyed in the opposite reason of Dan. So yeah, good discussion here. And then Fernando's gonna be like, "What the hell? You guys went an hour 45. You always give me crap when we go that
Yeah.
long." So hopefully you're not watching to the end here, Fernando. But yeah, it just developed. Hungry Tim is saying good combo, good. I'm glad people are not bored here. But yeah, appreciate all the comments here, and we'll get back to the regular format next week, but also maybe have more random discussions too. And I know I can only imagine what Dan and Fernando will have to say about me talking about the movie experience, because they're like you, Vic. They like to go to the movies a lot. I'm the only one here. Surprise, surprise, was different. But yeah, maybe we'll get their opinion next week. It'll be actually pretty interesting to hear what they say. But anything else, Vic? Can I
I
sign
was
off here?
gonna just say, if you guys like seeing us talk to each other and kind of have a good conversation, guess what? You're gonna get 2 shows from us tomorrow. We have
Oh yeah.
we have Game Week with the Compas, where we do a betting show. Gilbert's been killing it lately. He's been doing really good. So, if you want some advice on some of these betting games, there's a lot of good games to this week. You got Broncos and Packers, you have Rams and Lions, you have Chargers Chiefs, with the possibility of being the executioner, to the Chiefs there. The Chargers putting the final nail in the coffin for the Chiefs. So we'll talk about those games tomorrow. And then on House of Horns, we preview that big matchup between the Lions and Rams, which I'm looking at that line, Gilbert, and I'm already kind of skeptical as to what's going on with that line. Why is it keep
Here.
going up? So
Yeah.
a little tease there as to what we're gonna talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot
Maybe.
of content here on Combos on the Beat, and check out. One more news if you're here for What's Up Bolts too. I'm not sure how that's gonna play out this week. But if you want to watch the recap of Eagles Chargers, we talked about on What's Up Bolts, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen for that one. But yeah, we have House of Horns, gaming with the Compas, and then we'll go from there. But I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding with Fernando and Dan being gone for a week, but we'll get them back soon. So let's get out of here. Enjoy your Tuesdays, and see you tomorrow and join us for those 2 shows. But on that note, nos vamos, pues, vámonos.